At Man City, my title is like social media producer slash presenter. So I basically run Man City social channels. So I have control of the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, and the LinkedIn, and like TikTok and all that sort of stuff. Mainly, I administer the Twitter account and the Instagram account. They're probably the primary ones. And yeah, like it varies from scheduling sponsored posts from like partners and whatnot. So sometimes I get to make my own content. And then the presenting side of it on Instagram, I get to go to the games, sit in the press box, film, what's going on, talk about, what's going on, react to the goals, and then I interview the players at the end of the match, and then that goes on the website. So all in all, I just like contribute to Man City's content output. Regular day, I've joined last June, so I've been doing a lot from home. So I can, I sort of wake up and I can schedule a lot of what I need to do. And then it's sort of just like being on standby for if anything else drops. So, we have like on this day in the morning, which is like in 2015, Aguero scored 2 against Newcastle or whatever, something like that. And then we'll do the video to accompany it. We schedule that before we wake up, so there's something already out. And then it's 9 o'clock-ish. We do like birthdays, if there's any birthdays. Then after that, it's just like sponsored posts. If anything's going on in the world that I can react to, I will do. Instagram, we just keep it looking nice and fresh. Around the evening time when the players have finished training, we usually get a document of like the training photos sent over, all edited and looking nice, and we can put those out daily. Some of them are sponsored if it's the day before a game. What else is there? If it's the day before a game, we have like goals of the day, where it's like a montage of previous goals against that team. What else is typical? So Facebook, we try and post like videos that are over 3 minutes because you can monetize them. So we have like extended on this day, goal of the day we make over 3 minutes. And I do this thing on Tuesday called Head to Head, where it's like comparing 2 goals, and then you do a little poll underneath for which one's better. So it's all just things like that to sort of just keep things ticking over. And other than that, it's more relative to what's going on in the world. So obviously this week, when this is being recorded, we're going into the Champions League final. So the focus this week has been on the Champions League final. So there's been a lot of stuff around that. A match day, if I'm on Twitter, what I usually do is I'd schedule a few tweets before the match in the morning. Say it's like a 8 o'clock kickoff, for instance. I'd schedule some tweets from like 5 to 6, and then my manager he takes like the bulk of the day's work. So I just go and chill if the match is late on. And then when it gets to like 2 hours before the game, so 8 o'clock to like 6 o'clock, I'll do like the hours build up to team news. I can schedule all that. Then when the team, I get sent the team news, before it's been announced, I have to put it in a graphic, tweet that out, sponsor it. And then it's just like the hour after that, it's just like we have the We're Not Really Here show, which is live. So I clip that and put that on social, and we get some other like warm-up shots before the game, and then I live tweet the match. And then afterwards, any like post-match graphics, celebration, whatnot. So that's on Twitter, really. On Instagram, that's a different kettle of fish. So say we were away and I was in London. Sometimes, so I'll give you an instance. A few weeks ago, we played at Crystal Palace, which is in Croydon, which is South London, and that was a 12:30 kickoff, which was early. So I had to go down on the Friday, and then I went out with a mate. Actually, shouldn't really say that, quite unprofessional, but I went on a night out the night before the Friday night. But then I was in London, so in the morning, then I woke up and I went to the game, and yeah, then you have to so you get in there, you get your accreditation. Bit different with COVID because it's you have to be like you have like red zone, amber zone. If you're in amber zone, it means you can't sort of go on the pitch or near the dugout. You're sort of away from the players. And then I'll sit in the press box. I'll do all like the pre-match stuff, the competitions, talk intro, what's happening. Then I'll react to the goals. I film the warm-ups. We get sent in like a rival shot, so I get a load of content coming into me and I compile it. And then I do the post-match interview at the end. And then I either go back to my hotel or go home. So it just depends. But that would be if I was doing Instagram. So Twitter from home, Instagram you're present at the ground. So I have so Brighton last season we won 5-0 and I missed one of the goals because I was on the toilet. So because it's social media, I made a joke of it. I was just like, oh, I don't know what happened there. I think Jesus scored. I was having a wee, and that was it. It was like, it was just you made a joke out of it. So I think like you have to if something does go wrong like that, you have to just improvise. And it sort of just comes a bit naturally with time, I'd say that. Well, it would be more so in a normal world. Say post-COVID. So let's say, I mean, in England, that'll be after June the 22nd. That's the official date where like masks are off. I'll be commuting to work probably like maybe like 3 times a week, just in moderation, 2, 3 times a week. And then traveling is just for away games that I'm doing Instagram, or if it's a European trip, that's like a 3-day trip, 2 sleeps there. Um, and I don't know what's going to happen this year, but like usually we do pre-season as well, which would be 2 weeks, and it's like we usually do it's to do with like with City anyway. We have a load of partner clubs, like sister clubs that are like in different corners of the globe. So we have like New York City FC, we've got Melbourne, we've got Mumbai. So whichever one we've recently expanded to, we'd be most likely to go over to that country. Now the most recent one was Mumbai City. Obviously at the moment we're not going to be going on pre-season tour to India because of what's going on with COVID over there. So I don't know what the situation is this year. We might go to like Australia or something, but in the middle of obviously like in when there's no season on, we have like a 2 week trip away usually. Um the away games, I've been to some grounds that I've never been to before. I really like going to London. I just like the city. So I've been to London quite a few times the last year, and then I've done where did I do? I did Marseille in France and Dortmund, which is in Germany. So I've done a bit so far, considering you've not really been allowed to travel. I've been to other countries. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah, so for a European away, yeah, we do fly in as one party. So you get COVID tested and then you're like sort of in a bubble. So I think the party's usually about 70 people. Media team like sort of sits at the back of the plane. You have like the players at the like in the middle, coaching staff at the front. Um, and yeah, it's like you don't mingle with the players that much. I think a lot of them like to keep themselves to themselves, and they can't, you know, when the cameras aren't on them, they appreciate that time as much as possible. So they'll like stay away from me. But there's been a few times where like I've come into contact with the players on those trips. Like briefly spoke to Foden after he scored that goal in Dortmund. Like the day when we got to Dortmund in the hotel, there was a PSG Bayern Munich game on the night before, and we watched that in the bar. Like me, some of the staff and some of the City players. So that was quite good. So you do get some moments where you sort of like living life with them, I guess, to an extent. Um, but yeah, like the in terms of mixing with them, I could tell you an anecdote. Like there was one really extreme time in Marseille where we'd won 3-0, and then it was some woman who works in the comms team. It was her birthday. So Pep had bought like a really expensive bottle of champagne to celebrate. And there was like two separate hotel lobbies. So there was us, like the media team staff, and then the coaching staff and Pep in one. And then at like 2:30 in the morning, Pep stumbled in and he was quite drunk. And then he just sort of like announced it. And then there was a spare seat next to me, and he sat down next to me, Pep, and we sort of like drank wine together for a bit and just like talked. And it was really surreal, really, especially because I'm a City fan. I was like, wow. So yeah, you get some moments where it's like you pinch yourself, but for the most part, especially before the game, because they're focused on the game, you don't really get to speak to them that much. So yeah, they usually just like listen to music and stuff. And as well, like the club chef prepares plain food for the plane. So we get, your typical plain food, it'll come in a tray or something. We get like plain food given to us on like plates and stuff, and it's like really restaurant quality stuff. So for half the flight, I'm spent eating, and the players are, and then the other half, like, yeah, they're up and about walking. On the way to Dortmund, like, João Cancelo came up to me and he asked me if he could borrow my blanket and my pillow, and he took it, and then there was like a space behind my seat at the back of the plane, and he just lay on the floor and went to sleep. So he put the pillow down, put the blanket on himself, and just went to sleep. So yeah, there's been a few things, but I mean, the flights so far, maybe it'll be different if I fly with them to like America or somewhere else. but only because I've only done France and Germany. From England, that's like an hour and a half flight is nothing. So far, I've not seen that much on the planes. No. Well, for the players, I don't work in that. That's not really the remit of my job. But like the way All or Nothing was produced, I mean, the title was very all encompassing. It was like what we were going for all the trophies that season, and it was just sort of like directed in a very intense way, like a sort of cinema. It was cinematic, wasn't it? Um, I don't spend any time around the training sessions, so I wouldn't know. I don't spend time with Pep talking about tactics. I wish I could, because it'd be very interesting. But my side of the job isn't very all or nothing. No, it's very much wake up and tweet. In short, I dropped out of uni 5 weeks in, and then I spent about a year just thinking about what I wanted to do. Like I was doing sports journalism, and I just felt like I could push myself further. Like I just felt like I had a bit more about me than just writing match reports. So I started as a writer at a place called City Watch, and I was just like writing match reports, but I was making sure I put like a bit of a funny spin on them because I always like comedy. And then I applied to be a football writer at a place called Joe Media, which is like a proper company that would have paid me. And that proved difficult because I had no real like writing qualifications. Like I had an A at A level in English, but nothing too, impressive at that age where it's like I'm writing for a publisher. So I had to think on my feet. So I taught myself video editing on like After Effects and Premiere Pro. Um, and I had a go at making one of their like infamous like head swap videos, which at the time it's like, if to describe it to like one of the listeners, if I was to take like Pep Guardiola's head, I would then put that, you call it rotoscope, and I'd put it on someone else's head, like, I don't know, a rapper or something from like a scene. We did a lot of like Marvel films and stuff. So say it was like, I don't know, Spider-Man or something. You track it onto his head, and then you would sort of like have the managers like reenact these scenes, and it was like a bit of a spoofy, jokey caricature type thing. So I made one of those videos and I sent it in. Now, luckily, when I sent the video in, one of the two head swappers there, Christine, who'd been there since the inception of the company, he tweeted that he was leaving to move back to Norway. So it was that was like my stroke of luck, so to speak. But once I knew he was leaving, I knew there'd be a vacancy. So I sent it into Joe Gilmore, who was the other head swapper, and he really liked the video. And then within like 10 minutes, I got a call from like the boss saying, "Do you want to come to the office?" So went into the office a few days later, and then I was working for them. So making the head swaps. And then that in return got me better at tweeting on my own account. I was then working for a site called City Extra, where I was writing long form pieces that were like quite funny. I was then involved in the City Extra podcast, where I was like speaking, projecting my personality. Through that, I ended up doing stuff on radio. So it was all just like baby steps, and it sort of snowballed. And then, yeah, by the end, after doing all that for like 18 months, Joe had to let me go at one point for like financial reasons, and then COVID hit. But then a couple of months after that, in like June last year, I got the City job, which sort of like encompasses all of what I've learned so far. And obviously, because I had ties to like unofficial club accounts, so like City Watch, I knew a lot of people from, and then City Extra, knew a lot of people from. And I've been doing City related stuff for 18 months. A lot of people just told me like, "Oh, this would be perfect for you because you've got the content ideas. You're a City fan. You can present, you can do all this." So, and I thought, yeah, it kind of is. So I'll throw my hat in the ring, see what happens. I think about 2,000 people applied, so I was quite lucky. There was like two interview stages. So the first interview stage was like down to 9 people. I had to make like a TikTok and then like an Instagram story, like a mock Instagram story thing. Send those in and then do the interview. Got down to the final three. And that was more about like day to day, like how would you, it was more about like tonality of tweets, like how would you differentiate between different situations. And I did that, and then I got the job. Yeah, crazy. So it was a tweet really where I found out about it. No, massive disconnect, but because of COVID. So at that time, I was thinking we were just coming out of lockdown. I was thinking like everything will start to get better. It's like there'll be no fans maybe this season, but next season there will. Things will open up again. And I just thought the world would be a bit better, but because it hasn't, I've done a whole season of COVID. which hasn't really been the full job yet. So I'm hoping next year I get to properly, experience it, because at the moment it's felt like a very sort of like hollow version of the potential job that I could have, if that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a privileged thing to be able to do as a City supporter. It's the perk is the whole thing, really. It's just like I can tell people what I do, and it's quite an impressive thing to say that I do. It's good for making small talk with strangers, I'd say that. Yeah, like within the job, I'd say the most privileged thing is just like this year as well. It's been being able to go to the games with no fans. You feel very lucky when you're sat there in an empty bowl of like 80,000 seats and you're one of the very few people there. It's a strange feeling. So I'd say that's been the main thing this year anyway. Next year maybe it'll be somewhat a bit different when I'm more hands-on. But yeah, this year just, I guess, the travel in the current climate, going to the games, meeting Pep, that sort of thing, that's a privilege. Oh, that's a really good question. So like, yeah, but I don't know what it is, because like with Pep, we're such a successful team. Like obviously when Pep came in, I was just still a fan. You almost got like, I'm never going to take City winning a trophy for granted, but you get accustomed to how good we are. So you almost think like there's almost an inevitability about City at the moment that we are going to win trophies and win games. So as much as I like support the team, at the same time, I just sort of expect that we are really good. But this Champions League final is a bit different. I will be supporting us wholeheartedly then. It's the first time ever that we could win it, and it's like the final step for the club to sort of self-actualize as like the best in the world. It's what we've been going for, and we're so close now. But yeah, it does a bit like when you just, especially this season, because the games have been so condensed, you just sort of like, you think, oh, I've done that game, and then 2 days later another game comes. It's like whack-a-mole. You whack one down, another one springs up, and it's like, oh god, we've got to go again. And obviously between those games is press conferences, so it's just been non-stop really. And then the women's games on top of that, it's just been sandwiched so many football matches that this season it's just sort of been like so mechanical and routine and methodical that maybe it has taken away from it a bit. But take nothing away from the players, because they're the ones who sort of put the hard yards in and have done so well. But yeah, as a fan, maybe I've not celebrated as much this year. That was like the only personal interaction I've had with him. So I've never interviewed him. This, if we win the Champions League, there'll be a staff party. I'll probably see him then. So maybe give it 3 more weeks and I'll tell you. But yeah, Pep, like he's very, I won't go too much into what he said on that night because he was quite drunk. Or I won't spill the beans, but like he's just quite an intense person. You can tell he's thinking about football a lot of the time. He's friendly, he's dead nice. But yeah, he sort of has that aura of like a very successful person, if that makes sense. But in terms of like Pep, I've not really got to meet him properly yet. So yeah, it was just that one time. He's very overt, he's very on the TV, he's animated on the touchline, he's shouting, he's gesticulating at the players. What you see is what you get with Pep. That's the impression I get. So no, I don't think that I've not known him extensively enough to have noticed anything yet different about him. He's just a character. So my favorite player, like as personality wise, like the best I've had to interview is probably John Stones and Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, I did my first ever interview with, and he likes to talk about football, but it was also funny because Steve Bruce interrupted it, who's the Newcastle manager, and like gate crashed the interview and it went viral. That was quite funny. But like, yeah, KDB and John Stones really like to talk about football. And that makes my job a lot easier. It makes the content a lot easier. It makes the interviews a lot longer. So definitely those two. And then in terms of playing ability, obviously De Bruyne is our best player, but I absolutely love Phil Foden just because of like he's ridiculously good. He's a year younger than me. He was born about 5 miles away from me. I know his first ever coach. I played football with him. He played football with a lot of my friends who went to my school for their football team. and he's potentially going to go on to be the best football player in the world, which is scary. So like he picks the ball up, turns, looks at the goal and runs with the ball, and people can't get the ball off him. And I just think that's like the most exciting thing that you can sort of behold as a fan, especially when it's a local lad who supports the club, who's 20 years old. He's miles off his peak. So yeah, for me, Phil Foden's like my favourite player in terms of footballing ability at the club. Yeah. Some are just worse with the media than others, so just aren't as good. And what I do is I interview the players after they've done well. So sometimes I'll interview a player after he scored a hat trick, and I just don't get enough off him. I'm like, you need to give me a bit more, be a bit happier. You've just scored a Premier League hat trick, that sort of thing. And that sometimes can annoy me because, like, obviously, like it's entitled for me to say that they owe me some time. They don't, but like if I scored a Premier League hat trick, I'll be buzzing and I'll be waffling on to the interviewers. So yeah, sometimes there is some players who you just want a little bit more off when they've had such a good game. But yeah, Aguero is probably like one of the legends of like the club in the past 10 years. I just turned 12 when he joined, and now I'm just about to turn 22 and he's leaving. So it's crazy. Like he's been here throughout like my whole adolescence. He's been scoring goals for the last 10 years. He probably gave me the best day of my life with QPR with that goal that won us the league the first time. So like he is like the legend, and obviously he signed off on the weekend scoring two in his final ever game, and his first ever appearance he came on as a sub and scored two goals, and in his final ever appearance he came on as a sub and scored two, and it's like very poetic. So and hopefully as well we can win him a Champions League to sort of cap it off. I have met him. I interviewed him after the Crystal Palace game in London because he scored a very good goal in that game. He's a very small man, although I am very tall. So like, I noticed the height difference, but he's a lovely bloke. Speaks better English than I thought he did as well. And yeah, like I do personally think it's the right time for him to go. He's going to Barcelona, so it's not a bad move for him. But he's done 10 years here. He's one of my favorite players ever. I love him and I will miss him. Yeah. It's the end of an era. So efficient and we're like just a well-oiled machine. Don't get me wrong, if I wasn't working for the club, we still would have won 4 trophies this season, like we would have done, or 3 or whatever. But like, so I don't like a lot of us don't have a direct effect of what happens on the pitch, like you said, but at the same time, like we pride ourselves on pretty much everything. I'd say like the content output, everything. And like, when I do well, my work doesn't go unnoticed. I like to think that I've done a really good job this year on the social channels. Like I've given it a lot more personality, especially on Twitter. And it's just like small margins, it just helps the club's image in the public eye look that little bit better, which, in return then bodes well. So yeah, I just think like the club try and employ the best in every position that they possibly can. And I think they've got that with me. No, I'm joking, but like, yeah, they've just yeah, they are just, I guess the ethos throughout the club is just like dedication, hard work, just all the cliches. But then I think the most important person at the club is Pep, because he just sort of has instilled this mentality of success, success, success. And it makes my job easier because when we're winning trophies and being successful, I can just put stuff out and it does really well. So yeah, it's just about growing the global brand, and he's helped with that so much. So yeah. Yeah, I guess it just trickles down. Pep Khaldun will be at the top, Pep below him, or like the coaching staff below him, cheeky and stuff, and then that feeds into the players, and then we work with the players. So yeah, like the people at the top are the ones who really have the overbearing influence, and then there's just like heads of departments that make sure everyone's sort of like ticking over and doing their job. It's the same structure as any other company. I just think people see us as being so successful because we're so good on the pitch. It's pretty much just as simple as that. Whereas I'm sure if you went to like another club like Arsenal or something, I'm just singling them out, but like I'm sure like Arsenal's media team and stuff will be just as dedicated as ours. It's just that I guess like the pit, what happens on the pitch is what sort of like skews people's minds as to like what's a successful institution and what isn't. So yeah, I'd say like on the pitch is what maybe makes everyone think that we are so successful, and we are. It's just, yeah. Not in COVID because you're not near the players, but I've made a couple of friends like commentators and stuff, but not really yet because as well the press boxes usually uh have food in them and catering, and because throughout COVID they haven't, so there's not much time to mingle or speak to other people or network, so to speak, which is something that I was very good at before getting the City job. It's how I sort of worked my way up to this, just like speaking to the right people, making the right inroads. So that's something I can look forward to next season, making new friends on the way. Yeah. I literally only asked him one question. I could describe him from what I'd assume of him, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, no, I went. So Tottenham's obviously a really modern ground. So I got in and I went in the lift, the elevator to the top tier. Came out and I was like, right, I'm sat here. This is a nice view. But then like my seat number didn't seem to be there, so I was like, this is really confusing. So I just asked this thing, with people wearing masks, you can't really tell who it is. So I walk up to this guy, this bald man. I just say like, "Sorry, mate, do you know where I'm sat?" And then showed him my ticket, my press pass. And he went, "Yeah, you're down on the bottom tier." And then I could tell it was Daniel Levy when he was looking at me. So I was just like, "Oh, all right, that's cool." Then I walked back down to the first tier where I was sat, and then sat in the press box. But that is a lovely, lovely stadium. Um, but yeah, I literally just said like, "Do you know where I'm sat?" And he said, "No, you're down here." That was it. So I don't know him. He's not one of the friends I made. So I guess like I've sort of accumulated a few skills over the years to just be like a jack of all trades. Sounds a bit arrogant, but like I can do like quite a lot of things. You have to be confident to work around players like that, and speak out in a press box full of journalists who don't really like that sort of stuff. I guess you from my own experience and like what I've done with the brand, you have to, if you want to sort of elevate a corporation, a corporate brand, you have to have a bit of a knack for like what to make the right jokes, and like sort of know what's hot and topical on Twitter at the time, and know what spin to put on it where you can get away with it. That's not something I don't think I could teach someone. I just think you either have it or you don't. Unfortunately, like I've seen people try to do it and it doesn't land. And sometimes you see people in corporations try to do it and they make a pig's ear of it, and then it comes down. It becomes a news story. Um, like yeah, there's been some bad instances of that this season for other clubs, but like yeah, I'd say like I've got that knack. Confidence comes into presenting. Time management comes into like the Instagram thing. You need to be able to, manage your time well and deal with stress. Uh, I need to sort my sleeping pattern out next season because I've been working from home, so that's one thing I've got to work on. But yeah, just like those things. And I'd say like in terms of like getting to this position, you need to just sort of make baby steps. Don't push yourself. You don't. There was some quote, I can't say it off the cuff, like, but it was something like you don't need to be able to like climb to the top of the ladder. You just need to like be able to get to the next, climb up to the next rung of it. That's the sort of like idea. So it's like don't push yourself too much. Just know your limitations at that time, and just like make sure you stay just above that comfort zone where you're learning something new and pushing yourself ever so slightly, and then it has a snowball effect and you just get bigger and better. That's what happened to me. So yeah, confidence is the main thing. You got to have a bit of a knack as well if you want to make a few jokes. Not yet, but they will, because like it's a good thing to have on your CV, and it'll open doors for me. But I want to get into like writing comedy for TV, performing it, producing it. So that's a different career path. So I've just got to sort of like network on the side and probably do that as a bit of a side hustle for a couple of years. So this, I don't really want to work in sport. Like towards the end, that doesn't sound not to be like disheartening to people listening to it, but like it's just that's me personally. But if I was to stay in this, like the career progression could have me on like Sky or BT Sport, like presenting. That's like the sort of path. But I just want a bit more creative freedom, just for my own fulfillment. So yeah, like that's it. I don't know what the future will hold, but I have like a few rough ideas of where I want to be. But yeah, like I say, the progression is very much like presenting on TV, or like becoming like a lead social media manager person. Yeah, something like that.